Aloha and welcome to the Embodied Healing Self podcast with your host, jenmons. Each week, join me for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around embodied healing and awakening to your soul's purpose. Thank you for listening in. Aloha and welcome back to the Embodied Healing Self. Thank you so much again for joining me this week for another conversation around living an empowered life, owning our worth, and just being willing to embody our healing self, which we are always in a practice of. So this week, I want to invite you to join me in a conversation around independence and invite you to notice if you have shown up in extreme independence in your life, and if this perhaps is related to a trauma response. So I've been coaching women since 2008, and the style of coaching that I do tends to attract very high-performing women. I've worked with women from doctors to lawyers to corporate execs to Top Gun flight instructors to therapists and other coaches, and even just the rock star stay-at-home moms. It's a particular type of personality who doesn't embody and really genuinely deeply know their own self-worth. They're usually trying to prove themselves, and they've experienced some type of breakdown in life, either in health, in money, or love, and still, no matter how successful they are, they might still feel unhappy or unfulfilled and just like nothing is enough. And so throughout the years in working with women like this, one of the things that I noticed, because oftentimes for my audience who are coaches and or therapists, you can probably relate to this, but we tend to attract clients that are former versions of ourselves. And so we can see and have compassion for the experience in which they are going through. And one of the themes that I've noticed as the former version of me is this idea of extreme independence. And, I think that there's a healthy side to independence, but when it becomes very extreme and keeps us from not being able to ask for help, then it becomes unhealthy. And there's a couple of different reasons why we can become extremely independent, but most of our behaviors that we embody throughout our life are a result of our childhood experiences. And so one of the reasons that we can become hyper or extreme independent is because perhaps we didn't feel safe when we were younger. Maybe we were in some type of environment where we had somebody that we looked up to, a parent or a role model, a coach or a teacher that we didn't feel safe around. Maybe they were abusive in some type of way. Maybe they were controlling in some way. And we just adapted to this experience by deciding that we needed to take care of ourselves because it wasn't safe for us to be vulnerable enough for this person to take care of us if we couldn't trust them. So that is one reason that we can become extremely independent at a very young age. Another reason is because maybe at a young age we were given the role of caretaker or caregiver when we really weren't ready for it. Maybe we had to take care of a parent, or maybe we had to take care of many siblings, and we had to kind of grow up really quickly. And because we had to grow up quickly, we adapted to putting the needs of others first. and not really leaning into what our own needs were. And so that can be another reason. Another reason that we can become extremely independent is because we're seeking to feel valued or worthy. And so maybe at a really young age, we found ourselves, just seeking the attention and love and compassion from our parents or a role model or a coach or a teacher or somebody that we looked up to that we just weren't getting. And so we created the story that our needs didn't matter. And we found a way to adapt to this by staying busy and trying to prove a way that our needs would matter, trying to prove our value. And so constantly seeking the next thing that would allow us to be recognized or appreciated. And those are just a couple of ways that this subconscious story may have shown up for some of us. And of course, there are other ways. There are other types of traumatic experiences that we go through that can create extreme independence in our life. One of the most common threads that I notice is a need for safety. We, at some point in time, maybe we developed the belief that we couldn't trust others. Maybe we felt a sense of abandonment or rejection or betrayal, either from a friend group in middle school. Maybe we were bullied. Again, maybe it had to do within the home with our parents. And it happens for a lot of us. The difference is in how we choose to respond when we notice that need is being activated again, because our body remembers. And what happens is as we go through life, we find ourselves in situations again where maybe we don't feel safe, or we don't feel valued, or we don't feel seen or heard. And it creates that need to be extremely independent again. Maybe we don't actually believe that we're lovable or that we're worthy of being loved. And so we create this extreme independence of not needing somebody. Maybe we had scarcity around money when we were younger. And maybe we witnessed our parents having difficult conversations around this, or maybe you were raised with a single parent and it contributed to your idea of what it means to survive. And maybe you became extremely independent and successful and even wealthy, but you haven't let anybody in. You could even be in a marriage, but not fully, deeply connected in that marriage. So it can look very different on the outside than how we're experiencing it on the inside. Extreme independence often comes from a need for safety and lack of trust. We believe, nobody else is going to do it. Nobody's ever helped me. I got to do it on my own. If anybody's going to do it right, I guess I have to do it. And we create these stories that we have to do it if we want it done right. And nobody's going to be there to help us. And we're going to just have to find a way to make it happen. It's really inviting us into that hustle culture, which I am anti-hustle culture. I am more in an alignment culture, inviting people into alignment, which doesn't mean that we don't work hard, but we take aligned action. So we don't When we are in alignment, we don't go and do the things that we don't need to be doing from an unhealthy place, a subconscious sabotaging pattern of the need to feel valued or safe or loved or worthy, because we already know all of that within us. And we choose to align our actions with our values, not our wounds, not our needs, but our values. Very, very different. It's the idea or the invitation to live your life by who you're becoming, not who you've been. And really deciding in this moment as you move forward that your worth, who you're becoming, your worth, your desires, your dreams, and your goals, and willing to take aligned action and checking in with yourself. Is this aligned with me? Is it the right time? Does it have to be me, or can I seek support? And just getting super clear on your aligned action from that place. We've all had those moments where we're doing something that we think we have to do, that we don't want to do. And that's just an invitation to lean in. And a lot of times that shows up in extreme independence because we're doing it from a place of trying to prove ourselves. And I want to invite you to consider, where has that gotten you? If you're always seeking approval externally, where are you? How's that going for you? How's that showing up at work, relationships? More importantly, how do you feel about that? You could be the CEO of a large company, yet feel and look successful on the outside, but feel very empty on the inside. Because maybe your extreme independence is your survivor strategy. Maybe it created what looks like success, what our culture would consider successful financially, or, it might just look good on the outside, but what matters is how you're experiencing it on the inside. None of that matters if it's not radiating from the inside out. So take a moment to just notice if this resonates for you. I am all for fiercely independent women sharing their gifts, creating financial abundance, marrying their soulmate, creating an amazing life, traveling the world. I mean, I value all of those things. I consider myself to be one of those people. And I also know that my extreme independence was a result of my need for safety and to feel valued. So I recognize this. And when there's an opportunity for me to take action, I ask myself, is this coming from a healthy place? Is this what I desire? Or is this coming from that place of my need to feel valued or safe? Because if it's coming from that need, that subconscious need, it's not aligned with me. But if it's coming from my values of connection and well-being and fun, joy, adventure, transformation and growth, if it's coming from that, then I'm aligned with it. But it needs no external validation. So just notice your story around your independence. Notice how it served you. We're not making it wrong. You're already independent. It's just noticing the ways in which it has served you and the ways in which it hasn't. Are you truly allowing yourself to be in very deep, authentic relationships? Are you allowing yourself to be vulnerable? Because sometimes extreme independence doesn't invite vulnerability. Are you allowing yourself to trust? Often extreme independence can be a result of lack of trust. Do you feel safe in your environment? Do you feel safe when you speak your truth? Do you feel safe to speak your truth and show up authentically at work, at home, and in relationships? Or does your extreme independence turn people off? Extreme independence can also turn into narcissism, which is also a trauma response or the need to feel safe, and the need to trust, wanting to heal betrayal, rejection, and abandonment. So in this space and time, we're just noticing, we're having gratitude for our fierceness, our courage, but just noticing the ways in which perhaps the attachment that we've had to being extremely independent has hurt us in some ways. It's kept us from deep, authentic relationships. It's kept us from completely owning and living in our truth, because we're coming from a place of trying to prove ourselves rather than already knowing that we are enough. Maybe we're one of those people who are really busy getting a long list of certifications, thinking that that's what provides value, because then we don't need to rely on anybody else, because we have the knowledge and the financial security when we're that corporate woman or business owner that's doing all the things yet feels very empty inside. So just notice. Have gratitude for the courage and the strength that you have to be independent, and have compassion for the part of you that is attached to this because of maybe a subconscious need to feel safe, to trust, for fear of rejection, abandonment, or betrayal. And my invitation on this, after listening to this, is let me know if this resonates for you. Just maybe journal about it. I love journaling. I have my 13 moons of devotion journaling experience. I have a different journal prompt for every day. 5 minutes a day in 30 days will create more clarity and intention in your life. And then we come together every new moon for a new moon ceremony to once again get clarity on our intention for the month. But we do this with a cyclical approach with the moon, which is just a little bit more softer, feminine way. It's the one of the ways that we can sort of undo and unwind the very masculine energy of extreme independence, because that's really what it is. And I know, because this was me. I left at the age of 17. I went to a military academy and sailed around the world on merchant ships as the only woman for many years. And, you know, I look back at, like, what needs did I not give myself permission to receive, even as a child? What was I trying to prove? Why was it so important for me to prove that I could do better? And then from there throughout my life, I realized that I struggled with receiving support and love, because I felt like I heard myself saying, like, you know, I'll just do it all on my own. And then even in the first few years of my marriage, my husband would sail on ships around the world, and I was alone a lot. I was alone for 6 months with a newborn baby. And so I started realizing how my beliefs were creating my experience, and just, you know, how easy it was for me to adapt to my survivor strategies of, and almost like wearing it as a badge of honor. Like, I can do this all on my own. Like, I got this. But on the inside, actually wondering, do I? Can I really do this? And even if you can, do you want to? Because you don't have to. Really releasing the idea of just because you can do it doesn't mean you have to. And really just living in that and just releasing the idea that there's anything that you have to do, because everything's a choice. So I'd love to hear how this resonates for you. What's the story around how you became so independent, extremely independent, and what are the ways that it's keeping you from joy and peace and happiness and connection, or financial success and freedom, time freedom, all the ways? What are the ways that you've adapted, and what is it keeping you from in your life? Thank you so much for joining. I'd love to hear if this resonates for you. I get a lot of messages from people who tell me that particular episodes really resonated for them. So if this resonates for you, please let me know. And if it doesn't, please let me know as well. That's how we grow. I mean, we're all different. Thank you so much for joining me. Have another wonderful day. Aloha.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much for being a part of this community and listening in to the Embodied Healing Self podcast. I am deeply honored that you have chosen to listen in and be present with me today. I love and cherish and appreciate each and every one of you joining me for conscious conversations around embodied healing and accessing your soul wisdom. I would love to gift you my meditation bundle and my Energize and Aligned ebook and guide to help you live in alignment with more energy and flow throughout the year. You can find these on my website at www.jenmons.com/tribe. I have one small request for you to help and share the love that we share together on this show. In order for other like and light-minded listeners to listen in on the show, we need reviews. For this show to show up on social media platforms and come into their space of awareness around the topics that we share on the show. You can check out my website at jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review. And also check out other episodes that we've shared on the show. I personally read each and every review that comes through, and I would love to share some love and give you a shout out for your support on my show for leaving a review. Thank you again so much for joining in every week. With love, gratitude, and aloha, yours truly, Jen Mons and the Embodied Healing Self podcast.